Even when I got back, I was still like emptying the water because the ceiling is always leaking and the owner doesn't want to spend the money to replace the roof. I don't care if people call me like pussy for training in a temperature controlled environment. I went in and talked to a counselor and said, okay, how many classes do I have left? Is this worth me still doing if I'm not enjoying it? And she said I still had like a bunch of credits to get. You deny me because I don't have qualifications to be an operator in a warehouse? It's ridiculous. I busted my ass a few times because I slipped and fell because it was like a mix of snow and ice and it was really slippery. Hello everybody and welcome to the Mongoose Mindset Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about my life after professional wrestling and me moving back to Prince George, Virginia. I've already filmed this episode. This will be the third time I've filmed this episode because the first time I filmed it and after like the first 8 minutes, I realized that I wasn't recording audio. And then the second time I filmed it, I got all the way through it and I went to start editing it in my editing software. And I realized I accidentally deleted it from my computer. So that was sort of frustrating, but I didn't really get upset about it because it's gone. It's not like you can bring it back. So today, I'm going to be filming it again. So third time's a charm, right? So I wanted to get started. So after professional wrestling, after I ended that, I came back to Prince George, Virginia. And I started working. Well, I was still working at the time with Steve Weingarten, who was my first bodybuilding coach in Kentucky while I was there wrestling. And he was a great coach to work with. He definitely taught me that I needed to be recovering more, sleeping more, and which I wanted to sleep more, but at the time when I was doing wrestling, we were traveling so much, we were doing tons of events and everything, I couldn't really get a ton of sleep. But especially after I started coming back, I started sleeping a lot more than I was before. For cardio, he had me doing 5 days a week, just walking outside very briskly, fasted. And then 2 days a week, I do HIIT cardio on the bike. And it would only take me like 20, 25 minutes to do. I think I did, I forget how many intervals I did. But it was basically like 20 seconds as hard as you can, 45 seconds rest, 20 seconds as hard as you can, 45 seconds rest, repeat that. I think I repeated it like 15 times. And it'd take you about 20, 25 minutes. And then on top of that, I was lifting, and he had me on I think it was a push legs off, pull off split, which I enjoyed that split, which is kind of what I'm kind of doing right now, but we'll get to that later. After I got back, I was unemployed. So before I came back, I was talking with the guy who owns the gym that I went to when I first came back and that I went to before I had even went to Kentucky in the first place. And a guy in there that I knew, he was looking for somebody to come work at his place. And he offered me a job. And the big thing was that I was going to go do this job to learn how to become a machinist because the place I started to work at was called AED. It stands for Advanced Engine Design. And they build like race car carburetors. They ship out parts for different companies. They rebuild carburetors, do custom work. They do a lot of stuff in the racing industry. And so when I first started working there, I started rebuilding the carburetors. And that quickly, I guess over the time, because I made a few mistakes, obviously, because I didn't know how to do anything with cars, or I've never been a big car person. The only thing I do on my car is just enough to make it run. I've never added accessories or anything to it. I just check the oil, check the fluids, and make sure everything's running efficiently. But I asked him a few times while I was there, especially initially, you said you would like pay me to go to school to learn this machining option. And I didn't want to like bug him about it because I know, you don't want to put money into somebody that's not going to stay for a while. So I think he wanted to see, if I would stay or not. So I started working there and doing that. I made a great friend that I still talk to today. His name's Rick. And we played Fortnite together and Call of Duty on PlayStation. And he's like 70 some years old, and he's proficient in playing video games and stuff, which I think is great, because a lot of people, especially older people, they think bad of video games. But honestly, like, if you're at home, if you're retired and you're not doing anything and you're just watching TV, and you're stimulating your brain by watching TV, but you're not thinking and not having those reactions like a game can provide. And I feel like that's great, especially for older people, to get into that. If one, they're bored at home, if they don't have nothing to do, if they're retired, and then two, it's just a great hobby, I feel like. And you get that social connection, especially if you're playing online with other people like we were. And he's not retired. He's, still working at AD. And he was the only one who I really had like a really close friendship with. Everybody else they were kind of, I would talk to, but we weren't like close like me and him were. Me and him just like clicked. Like, we were just really alike. Some things we disagreed on, but I mean, that's with everything. You're not going to have a friendship that's totally perfect. But so when I got back to Virginia, weightlifting wise, I started to go back to Walker's gym. I was going there basically with a free membership, because before I had left, I had done like so much work and helped them out so much. Even when I got back, I was still like emptying the water, because the ceiling is always leaking and the owner doesn't want to spend the money to replace the roof, which is kind of a safety hazard, to be honest. But I mean, it's a gym, so you go in there and you train. And it wasn't like an expensive price to get a membership anyway. It was only like $35 a month. And that was with classes included and everything. So I guess you get what you pay for, so to say. Like, you get good equipment and you get the classes and everything, but the overall quality of the environment that you're training in is not the best. And I had this bodybuilding coach, and when I got back, the owner of the gym would hardly even talk to me, because he was giving me kind of like advice and stuff before. But the reason why I went to a bodybuilding coach is because I wanted specific instructions on how to do things, because I wasn't seeing any results doing it myself and just getting general advice from him. I wanted to reach out and pay for services for somebody to get me good quality. Not that Barry's information wasn't good quality information, but give me a structured plan, a structured diet, a structured training plan. So I have something to follow and progress on. Because Mr. Walker, Barry, he thinks, I mean, this is just my opinion, and a lot of other people say the same thing. He thinks there's only one way to do something, and his way is the right way. Because if he sees you doing something else that somebody else told you to do, he'll be like, oh no, that's not the right way to do it. This is the way. You have to set up a plan this way, blah, blah, blah. But like anything in life, there's multiple different ways to skin a cat. There's no one right way to do something. But I still talk to he hardly ever spoke to me when I came back. And his wife still talked to me. Like, she would ask me questions and everything like that. I wasn't doing their classes anymore, because before I left, I was doing their warrior class, and then I was doing her class on like Monday nights. And I completely stopped doing that, because I was doing like my cardio, my fasted cardio in the morning, or my HIIT cardio, and then I'd come in later and lift. And I think it was around November or December of 2024, I ended with Steve. The only thing I didn't like about Steve was that on like the check-ins, like, he didn't make you send any pictures. He just asked for your weight and stuff, which I kind of found odd. But I guess if I wasn't like actively competing, then it wasn't as important. But still, I think he should see those those changes in your body week to week, rather than just sending weight, because weight doesn't tell a lot. It tells, it could tell, you lost a lot of water, you're dehydrated. It doesn't show the whole picture as like weight plus pictures would. At the end of that year, I started working with Dr. Todd Lee with his coaching services. I started out, like, it was fun. Like, it was, like, I felt good, because he started me on, testosterone, because my testosterone levels were really, really low, like I explained in the last podcast episode. But we started on that. I was seeing some gains in the gym. I was, feeling more confident, feeling better. I mean, it wasn't like a 100, it wasn't like a 360 degree shift or 180 or whatever you want to call it. Because some people say, when you start it, you're going to feel a night and day difference. Like, it's going to feel great. I never really felt that, like, great feeling. But I did obviously feel better than I did because I was feeling really, really bad before. But I started with him. I started training with him. Not training with him, but he was giving me a plan and everything. We got blood work done. We also found out that my thyroid levels were really low. So he eventually put me on thyroid replacement like T3 and T4 because we needed to fix that, because if your thyroid's not working properly, then your metabolism's not really working at its most efficient it could be. Started working with him, still training at Walker's gym, training my ass off like I always did. And I think it was around July, I switched gyms to RVA Iron. I usually went to their Chester location, and then towards the end, before I moved out here, I started going to like the Richmond locations on days I could, because they just had better equipment. But the reason why I switched is because I would go on Sundays, because the gym wasn't open on Sundays, but he gave me a key to be able to go in there and do what I needed to do. My split at the time, I was doing push-pull legs off. Legs, push-pull off. Repeat with Dr. Todd Lee. And, some days you'll have to train on Sundays because it's not like set up throughout like a regular work week. Because you just train once that day falls. One day I was going in there and I used the key and the door wouldn't open. So he had like changed the locks or whatever. So I went to RVA Iron and did like a day pass and just see if I liked it. And I liked it. So I went ahead and got a membership there. It's a lot better because, obviously it's not leaking. It doesn't smell like mold. It's temperature controlled. I don't care if people call me like a pussy for training in a temperature controlled environment. I want to enjoy the time I'm in the gym. I don't want to be sweating my ass off in the hot and humid summer in Virginia because I hate the humidity. The only good thing about like being in a worse environment where you're sweating your ass off and you're just really, really, fatigued. It feels really good once you get home and get in the AC, but your training session suffers and you can't like focus as much on what you're trying to do, I feel like. So I made that switch, and I think I made that switch for the better because they had a lot newer equipment that worked your muscles a lot better than the older equipment that I guess was stuck in that time. There was some good equipment at Walker's. There was, but a lot of the newer style equipment, it works towards your muscles because they've engineered it better. So that's why I wanted to make that switch too and get better. It was more expensive, but at the end of the day, I think it was worth it if I was making better progress and enjoying my workouts even more. So I switched there in I think July or August, and then I had a call with Dr. Todd Lee, and I asked him if it was all right if I could come out there and train with him for a week. And at this time at AED, I think I started AED at the end of 2024. In the beginning of 2025 in the spring, I started like doing a health sciences degree at the local community college. Like I learned like nutrition. I had to do like a history prerequisite, biology, like psychology. And I enjoyed it at first, but just over the time of just reading the bookwork and doing that stuff and taking the test and having to memorize like all bones of the human body and everything in the anatomy and physiology class, I didn't enjoy it anymore. So, and plus, at the end of 2025, I know I'm going back and forth a lot, but I'm trying to explain like one thing to kind of get it out of the way. At the end of 2025, after I finished the fall semester, I went in and talked to a counselor and said, okay, how many classes do I have left? Is this worth me still doing if I'm not enjoying it? And she said I still had like a bunch of credits to get. I'm like, I had to take physics. I had to take another biology class, another anatomy and physiology too. I'm like, screw this. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not enjoying it. So I stopped that. And so back to with Todd Lee. I was excited. I was really excited to go on this trip to Michigan and train with him and everything. So I went up there, and when I got there, I was excited, and we got back to his apartment. I had to order food and stuff through Instacart just to have my food there. And I was like getting my steps in at the time because I was on the airplane basically the whole morning. And he was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just walking around to get my steps in," And he just I just felt like I was like judged by him. And he's a good guy, I feel like, but he's just got some sort of an ego, I feel like, and kind of talks down a little bit to people, especially when you call him and you ask him a question, and it just feels like he's just judging you the whole time and you can hear in his voice that he doesn't want to answer the question, it feels like. Or like if you ask him a question, he might think it's a dumb question, which all the stuff that I've ever heard in life from people is no question is a dumb question, because I want to know the answers to it and know your opinion on something. And I'm paying you for these services, so you need to provide that type of service. I was cooking my meals one time because I didn't have enough meal prep containers to prep my meals out for the whole week like I normally do at home. So when he saw what I was doing, I was cooking out all my food, especially when I got it at first, because all the food wasn't cooked at all. So I had to cook it all out in like the first day, actually the second day I did all that. But he went like, "What are you doing?" He said, "That's taking forever to do." I'm like, "Well, I'm cooking all the meals and prepping everything out like it says on your plan." And he said, "That's very inefficient." I'm like, "How is it inefficient? It's your plan. I'm eating multiple different things to get all the micronutrients that I need from all these foods and, help me feel the best." Because all he ate was just air fried chicken, rice, and then peas and carrots, microwave peas and carrots from Walmart. And then he had some like rice cakes every few meals. But he wasn't having any type of like fruits or anything. Or the only vegetables is the peas and carrots. Which I guess there's nothing wrong with that as long as you get all your macro and micronutrients you need. But it's good to have variety in your diet, especially with fruits. But I will say, me going up there, although it wasn't like a good experience because of the aspect of how he was as a person, it was a good learning opportunity because I actually learned some things about, especially back training, that I didn't know before, and he helped me implement. I also got to meet his, co-owner of their coaching business, Karina Dotson. She's really nice, and towards the end, when I was doing check-ins, it was just her communicating back and forth because he was doing all the phone calls and stuff. But half the time during the day when I was up there, he was just like watching YouTube or TV. He wasn't doing much quote unquote like work, which, he worked hard to where he had to get to where he is now. But honestly, like sometimes it just felt like he was just lazy, just sitting around. But that's just my opinion, because I like to stay busy and keep working on stuff, not just sit around the house all day. But while I was up there, I got the rest of like my classes done for school, and basically got all those done, so I didn't have to worry about anything for the rest of that semester. So not only was it good because I went up there and learned some stuff, but I was able to have some spare time to do stuff I needed to do on my computer and finish that workout. Like the first 2 days, I was actually planning on renting a car and driving back because I wasn't enjoying it, and it wasn't a good situation, it felt like. It got better for the both of us throughout the week because we realized, who we were, and I guess got more used to each other. And like when he was in the kitchen doing his thing, I'd go do something else, and then once he was done, I'd go in and cook what I needed to cook just to try to stay out of his way. And I wanted to be respectful because, obviously I was in his house. But during this time, like I was because of the way he was, like, I feel like I couldn't really talk to him like I needed to, especially on the phone and everything like that. When I was back home, I was looking into other coaches. I was looking around. I was looking at like Cuba Celian from like England. I messaged like his people, and then I also messaged Chris Tuttle because I really liked what Chris Tuttle talked about and the physique that he had when he was a pro and everything. So I reached out to his business, and he recommended me to go to his assistant coach, which is Nate Pennycook, and that's who I work with now. After that trip to Michigan, I came back home, and I kind of made my decision that I didn't want to work with him for another year. Because when you work with him, you sign on for a year, and I didn't want to be with him for another year because, honestly, I didn't see any progress that I made. I gained weight, obviously, because when I first started out, Steve Weingarten had leaned me out, and I started with him, and we kind of increased food and everything back up. But I felt like I was just getting fatter. I wasn't improving on my lifts at all in the gym. My body was just stagnant, and I felt like crap. My sleep was going down. Everything just felt bad, and I didn't want to keep feeling that way for an extended period of time. So I made the decision to stop with him ultimately. And like I said, I hired Nate Pennycook. And so I was going to wait and go into that in another episode, but I think I might go ahead and do it now because I got through all that a lot quicker than I expected. So we're going to talk about that. And so the next week we can have a conversation about actual mindset stuff and stop talking about me. So I started with Nate Pennycook. We took all like the just crazy, not crazy supplements, but just like random supplements that he had me taking, like Tudka and all this other stuff. And it's probably good for you, but I didn't really see a difference in anything energy-wise and anything like that. So we dropped all supplements, all the other compounds except like testosterone, and then my thyroid medication that is prescribed by a doctor. We dropped food and like within a week you could see all the inflammation in my body dropped. Like all the water it was retaining, and like I said, inflammation. And so I started at 170 with him, and we went for about a month on, I guess, this cut or leaning out or health phase or whatever you want to call it. And I got down to probably about 150 pounds by the end of that. And I was lean, like, especially when I first started, like I had never seen like the cuts in my legs like I saw with him. And I was feeling good. Like I was leaning out, but I was feeling great. Like I had good energy. I just felt mentally better. I was just feeling really good overall. There was a few times where like I obviously got depleted of glycogen. I could feel it, and like my lifts felt like crap. But we would just do like maybe 2 days of two high days, and then I'd feel better. So then we got to the beginning of January, and we started adding food back in. And I feel like my body took off a lot more than it did with Dr. Todd Lee, because we reverse dieted out of that. We slowly added food back in, and your body just soaks up those nutrients. And then also during this time, I had been looking for a different job because I was tired of working at AD. So I was applying to jobs like with Medline. I actually applied to like a Panda Express job, a few different other jobs. And everybody except the Panda Express job basically denied me and said, oh, you don't have the qualifications for this. You don't have this. You don't have that. I'm like, you guys are actively hiring still, but you deny me just because I don't have qualifications to be an operator in a warehouse. It's ridiculous. Everybody says they need people, but they're not willing to hire anybody or give anybody a chance, even though you don't have any experience in a warehouse job. Like a child could do a warehouse job. You just pick items basically. And I went and did the interview. The interview went great. They said, have you operated a forklift before? I said, yeah, I've operated a forklift. Have you used this on this type of phone or whatever to scan something? I'm like, yeah, I've used that before. So everything they wanted me to use and do, I had already done. But they still denied me. So I said, screw it. Years ago, about a year ago, I had been thinking about going out to the college that I'm at now, New River Community College, and doing their instrumentation and automation program. So I said, well, let me do that, because the guy at AED, my boss, I still had asked him about the machining thing, even after I'd been there over a year, and he still kind of just put it off. And I asked him too about possibly, because when I first started there, he said, you'll start here, we'll start you at this pay rate, and after you learn how to do these things and become efficient at it, then I'll raise your rate. So I asked him about it a year later, and he said no, we shouldn't. He just put me off on it again. I thought to myself, I'm not getting anywhere with this job. I'm not making any more money than I made the year before. Obviously I've learned stuff, but I basically just be stuck at that same position my whole career if I stayed there. They're not going to pay for my school. They're not going to give me a raise or anything. I'm going to go do this schooling because I can make a ton more money after I come out. And hopefully the job that I get, I'll be more happier at and have a better quality of life, obviously, because I'll be making more money and be able to financially sustain myself. So that leads me to out here. I moved out here on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. January 19th, and I've been out here. Today is April 26th. So I've been out here for over 4 months now. Haven't even been home. I'm not planning on going back home until I'm done with the degree, because I just want to stay focused, stay committed to not only the degree, but also this business that I created. And I kind of, shot myself in the foot in the way, because not only am I doing all these classes here, but I'm also doing this business thing, even though I don't have any clients yet. It's just another thing to add to my plate. I feel like I do that a lot. I just add stuff to my plate that I really shouldn't be adding. But I'm glad I made the business and I actually had the time to create it, because I do want to help people. I do want to provide that value and give you things that you can do to help you improve your life that I've messed up a lot over the years, and can hopefully help people by sharing my story about that. And that leads me to right now, where I'm out here at New River Community College. I'm almost done with the first semester. I got a physics quiz to take, a physics test to take at the end of this week coming up, and then a physics final exam to take the week after. And then a few more classes to attend, but that's basically it for this first semester. And I'm going to take summer classes, it's 5 weeks, but I'll be at school basically all day. So like I said, that's where I am now. I think that's kind of all I had. The only other thing I would, say that I kind of missed is when I initially started with Nate, I had a bunch of digestion issues, but we cleared that up by taking a fiber supplement and added a little bit more vegetables, which I don't understand why I had that issue, because I was still eating a bunch of vegetables and still intaking a bunch of fiber. It wasn't like I wasn't eating fiber or anything, because had oats and different other vegetables and fruits. And then also, when I came out here, the fitness center that I joined, or the gym that I joined, is literally just right down the road here. And I joined that because, one, it's not really a lot of people in there most of the time, so you have the equipment to yourself rather than joining like a franchise down the road, like an Anytime Fitness. And then two, I literally walk there. I literally walk there in the morning, do my workout, walk back. It's really efficient. And especially when I first got here, it snowed and everybody was snowed in for like a week. So I just walked there when it was snowy outside. I busted my ass a few times because I slipped and fell, because it was like a mix of snow and ice, and it was really slippery, but I got there, got back, and I've been going there ever since. I enjoy it. I have a lot of people that I talk to there and made friends. So I know I'm finishing this first semester up now, but I had been thinking about, do I really want to continue doing this? So I talked to my instructor the other day, and he said, I was asking about like different jobs you can have after you're done and everything. And he kind of reassured me that, you'll have a job after this. He said, start thinking about where you want to work and when you want to work, because this type of job and degree they need it everywhere for different programs and automation of like robots and instruments or whatever. That kind of gave me some reassurance. So I don't know where I'm going to work at after I go back yet. There's some power plants around there that have great job opportunities, great pay. And also Lego's building a molding facility right there in Chester, about 25 minutes from where I live. So that would be a good opportunity because that's right by the gym as well. So I could go to the gym early in the morning, get out of there, and then go straight to work. And they work 12-hour shifts, which suck. But also it's good because you work 2 days on, you get 2 days off. So it's a really good, work lifestyle thing. That's where I am now, and that's where I've been since I came back from professional wrestling. And like I said, if you need help with fitness, nutrition, lifestyle implementation, I can help you out. Just contact me either through my website or email me at mongoosemindset01@gmail.com, and I can help you reach your goals and help you with whatever you need out of all the experience that I had, or if you just want to talk and just get some general guidance. So next week we'll get into actual mindset topics and not just talk about my life. If you want to learn about how I've gotten to the point to where I am after professional wrestling, after moving back from Louisville, Kentucky, watch this video over here, and that'll explain to you my life during professional wrestling, ultimately why I left and came back to Virginia to do the things that I did. Thank you, and have a good day. Act now, evolve forever.